Hey there folks, John here for Biddy Kong's Quest, and I know it's been a while since I've done an official video. We did do that Mighty Number 9 stream a couple weeks ago because I'm working on a history video about Mighty Number 9. That's coming along. I've had some other freelance projects that I've been working on, and so that's taking a little bit longer than I would like. But I did want to make a more traditional, just kind of quick video for you guys this week. A few weeks ago, my friend Jay over at Square Pegs made a video about important video games, and important video games doesn't necessarily mean important to the video game industry, at least not in this context. It actually means games that are important to you. And, it's the holidays, and this is kind of a sentimental time of year, and I thought that was a really good idea for a video. Some of you guys may be familiar with Tiny Toons on the NES, and that's this one right here. I love this game. This is actually one of the best platformers on the NES, and a really interesting history on this one too. One of these days I'd like to get around to doing a video about it, but this is a really good game. It's from Konami. It's a Konami platformer on the NES. You know it's going to be good. But what a lot of people don't know is that there's actually multiple Tiny Toons games on the NES. Now there's Tiny Toons 2, which is a little bit more of like a Adventures in the Magic Kingdom, if you guys know what that is. You're in this theme park and you're going around and there's a bunch of different stages that all have different kind of like mini games, and I think a couple of them are platformers, but most of the mini games are like rafting and like those sorts of things. So the sequel to this is not really a platformer in the same way that the original is, which is why I've always liked this one a little bit better. But that said, this is a great game, but this is not the one I wanted to talk about because there's actually a third Tiny Toons game, if you can call it a game, on the NES, and a lot of people are unaware of it, and that one is this right here. This is Tiny Toons Cartoon Workshop, and this is actually, I guess you could kind of call this an edutainment game. It's not really, because it's not like Mario is missing or something. It's not really trying to teach you anything, but basically this is a movie creator for the NES, and you may be asking, well, that can't be very good, and I'll be honest with you, it's a little clunky. It's not probably the most intuitive thing by today's standards, but back in the day when I first rented this thing absolutely blew my mind that I could make like animations on the NES, and it actually had a really big impact in my life. But before I talk about that, let's talk about what the game actually is. So this is Tiny Toons Cartoon Workshop, and it's basically a movie creator for your NES. And this was, in a time before we had computers that, come with Windows Movie Maker, or you could download DaVinci Resolve or whatever. You didn't really have computers that could edit video, at least not at home. And so this is kind of something that you could get into that with a little bit. And it allowed me the opportunity to kind of get my feet wet, just kind of experimenting with doing different stories and stuff like that. So in this game, if you want to call it that, you have several options that you can choose from. First of all, there's a bunch of different stages that you can choose as the backdrop for your movie. And then you have a bunch of different characters that are pre-selected that are from the Tiny Toons show that you're able to actually go in and make stories with. And these characters have a lot of pre-rendered animations that you can use, and you can kind of link them together and chain them together to make your own story. So you may be thinking that this is pretty rudimentary, and honestly, you'd be right, by today's standards. But back in the day, this was absolutely mind-blowing to me because I grew up watching cartoons. Honestly, I watched cartoons even through high school more than I watched like real people shows. And for me to be able to create something, in elementary school that was like a cartoon, like something that I was watching, that was like such an absolutely amazing concept to me. That absolutely blew my mind. And it kind of planted a seed that really wouldn't sprout until later on when I was in high school. But back to the game, it's pretty versatile in the amount of stuff that you can do considering the limited hardware that it's on. In addition to different animations that you can use for your characters, you can also position them wherever you want on screen, you can chain different animations together, and you can even add different sound effects for when your character does something on screen, when your plane crashes, whatever it is the story that you're trying to tell. And it's actually surprising, these maps are actually much bigger than you would think, and the range of animations and things that you can have your characters do is actually pretty impressive for what this is. It's also worth adding that there's a few music tracks you can add to your film too, and while it's not a lot, it's better than nothing, and honestly it adds a little bit of extra sound that you kind of need when you're doing something like this. The last thing you're able to add to is text, and you can add that to your animations so that you can have your characters actually talk to each other. So this game actually offers a pretty robust experience for the time, and especially the hardware that it was on. And you may be asking, why is this an important game? Like, it just seems like just kind of like a pseudo edutainment thing. I don't know that you would really even call this a game, because there's no platforming, there's nothing like gamey about it. But it's an important one to me simply because I work in the film industry, and I can honestly say without really any doubt in my mind that this game is where that started. When I was in like 4th or 5th grade, this was the first time that I was able to make moving stories, and it was something that just stuck with me. It stuck in my brain, and I have been in this industry for, gosh, almost 3 decades now, since the first time that I actually edited something and got paid for it. And that's the power of games sometimes. It's sometimes you have it, you play a game, or you watch a movie, or you read a book or something, and it impacts you in a way that you can't even quantify until way later in your life. So I just wanted to share my story about this weird, obscure, not even a game on the NES that literally shaped my life. It literally changed everything about what I would end up doing as a career in the future. And it kind of planted a seed that, again, wouldn't sprout until years later when I was in a film class in high school. It kind of brought me back to this, and I remembered, I used to make those movies on my NES. And it was just pretty cool. So that's the story of Tiny Toons Cartoon Workshop. That's why it's an important one to me. If you guys like this, let me know. I do plan on doing some more of these, just kind of short little reviews, not really even reviews, but just kind of talking about games that I love. Just because these are quick, they're easy to do. I might be able to pump them out, weekly even, because they don't require nearly the research as my history videos. And honestly, we need to get back to doing stuff on the channel, and we need to get back to doing content. I should have one more video out before the end of the year, just doing my yearly wrap up. I talk about my favorite games of the year, talk about goals for next year, talk about how the channel's done in this past year, which has been great considering the long gaps in content, and those sorts of things. So that's one more video that'll be coming before the end of the year. And then we've got lots of other cool stuff coming up next year that I'm already working on, and I'll talk about that in that video. But until that time, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, and I'll see you all next time.